hair loss shampoos. No one talks about. You've been standing in the shampoo aisle staring at bottles that promise thicker, fuller hair. You've tried the expensive ones, the ones with the fancy botanical extracts, maybe even the medicated ones your dermatologist mentioned. And yet here you are, still watching more hair circle the drain than you'd like to admit. What if I told you that the shampoos actually proven to slow hair loss and even promote regrowth aren't the ones with the biggest marketing budgets? What if the real solutions have been hiding in plain sight, ingredients that research has validated but that somehow never make it into the mainstream conversation? Today I'm going to reveal the shampoo ingredients that no one talks about, the ones that have genuine science behind them, and trust me, what I share at the end might completely change how you approach your hair care routine. Before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me how long you've been dealing with hair thinning. Have you noticed it getting worse over the past year, or has it been a gradual change over many years? I genuinely want to know, and let's get started. I've spent countless hours digging through research studies, clinical trials, and dermatological journals to understand which shampoo ingredients actually have evidence behind them and which ones are pure marketing hype. The hair care industry is worth billions of dollars, and unfortunately, much of what they sell you is based on clever branding rather than real science. But here's the thing, there are ingredients that work. They exist, they're available. Most people just don't know what to look for. Let me start by talking about a few ingredients you might want to be cautious about because understanding what to avoid is just as important as knowing what to use. First, let's talk about sulfates. These are the ingredients that make your shampoo foam up into that satisfying lather. Sodium lauryl sulfate and sodium lauryl sulfate are the most common ones. Here's the thing though, these detergents are extremely effective at cleaning, maybe too effective. They strip away not just dirt and oil, but also the natural protective lipids that keep your hair and scalp healthy. For people with sensitive scalps or those already experiencing thinning, this matters. Research published in the Journal of Cosmetic Science found that sulfates can penetrate the hair shaft and damage the cuticle, leading to weaker, more brittle hair over time. If your scalp is already compromised, if you're dealing with inflammation or irritation, sulfates can make the problem worse. Look for shampoos labeled sulfate-free, especially if you've noticed your scalp feeling dry, itchy, or irritated after washing. The second ingredient that's gotten a lot of attention lately is DMDM hydantoin. This is a preservative that slowly releases small amounts of formaldehyde to prevent bacterial growth in your shampoo. Now, I want to be balanced here. There are currently no definitive scientific studies proving that DMDM hydantoin directly causes hair loss. However, there have been class action lawsuits and many consumer complaints about scalp irritation and hair shedding. If you're allergic to formaldehyde, and many people are without knowing it, this ingredient could trigger reactions that damage your scalp environment. It's often listed on labels as DMDM hydantoin, imidazolidinylurea, or quaternium 15. For those with sensitive scalps or unexplained hair shedding, switching to a DMDM-free shampoo is worth trying. But trust me, what I'm about to tell you next about the ingredients you should actually be using is far more important than what you need to avoid. Now that you know what to watch out for, let's talk about what you should actually be using instead. I'm going to count down from number 5 to the most effective hair loss shampoo ingredient that almost nobody talks about. And I promise you, what comes at number 1 has research behind it that will genuinely surprise you. Starting at number 5, we have caffeine. Yes, the same caffeine that's in your morning coffee. When applied topically to the scalp, caffeine has shown real promise for hair loss. Let me explain why. Caffeine works by extending the anagen phase of your hair cycle, which is the active growth phase. It also increases blood circulation to the scalp, delivering more oxygen and nutrients to your hair follicles. A study published in 2024 in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology found that shampoos containing caffeine and adenosine demonstrated therapeutic benefits for reducing hair loss. In another study, 67% of participants reported that a caffeine shampoo met their expectations, attributing increased hair strength and reduced hair loss to the product. Here's how to identify caffeine in shampoos. It's usually listed simply as caffeine or Coffea arabica seed extract. For best results, leave the caffeine shampoo on your scalp for at least 2 to 3 minutes before rinsing. This gives the caffeine time to penetrate. Use it 3 to 4 times per week. Most people notice reduced shedding within 4 to 6 weeks, with more significant results around the 3-month mark. This is particularly effective for women experiencing diffuse thinning and men with early stage pattern hair loss. Coming in at number 4 is pyroxadolamine. Now, I know that name doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but stay with me because this ingredient is seriously underrated. Pyroxadolamine is an antifungal agent that targets the Malassezia fungus that lives on everyone's scalp. When this fungus overgrows, it causes inflammation, dandruff, and can contribute to hair shedding. A landmark study comparing pyroxadolamine to ketoconazole and zinc pyrithione found that men who used the pyroxadolamine shampoo saw a 16.6% reduction in hair loss after 6 months. That's significant. But here's what makes pyroxadolamine special. It doesn't just fight dandruff. Research shows it may actually increase hair shaft diameter, making individual hairs appear thicker. A 2024 study found that pyroxadolamine improved the overall scalp microbiome and reduced oxidative stress, both of which create a healthier environment for hair growth. You'll find this ingredient listed as pyroxadolamine on shampoo bottles. Look for concentrations around 0.5 to 1%. Use it 2 to 3 times per week. It's particularly beneficial for anyone who notices that their hair loss worsens when their scalp is flaky or irritated. If you've always written off your dandruff as unrelated to your thinning hair, think again. At number 3, we have saw palmetto. This is a natural DHT blocker derived from the berries of the Serenoa repens plant. DHT, or dihydrotestosterone, is the hormone primarily responsible for shrinking hair follicles in androgenetic alopecia, which is the most common type of hair loss in both men and women. Let me explain why saw palmetto matters. Saw palmetto contains compounds that inhibit the enzyme 5-alpha reductase, which converts testosterone into DHT. While prescription medications like finasteride do this more powerfully, they come with potential side effects that many people want to avoid. Saw palmetto offers a gentler, natural alternative. A meta-analysis found that 60% of patients who used saw palmetto showed improvement in overall hair quality, 27% saw an increase in total hair count, and 83% experienced increased hair density. Now, the research on topical saw palmetto in shampoos specifically is still developing, but when combined with other active ingredients, it can be part of an effective hair loss protocol. Look for shampoos that list saw palmetto extract, Serenoa repens fruit extract, or Serenoa cerulata fruit extract. For best results, use these shampoos consistently for at least 3 to 6 months. Natural DHT blockers work more slowly than pharmaceutical options, but can reduce DHT by 10 to 30% without the side effect concerns. The scary part is that most mainstream shampoo brands don't include any of these evidence-based ingredients. They fill their bottles with silicones that make your hair feel temporarily smooth, but do nothing for the underlying health of your follicles. Coming in at number 2 is ketoconazole. This antifungal ingredient has been studied extensively for hair loss, and the results are remarkable. In fact, a 1998 study published in the journal Dermatology found that 2% ketoconazole shampoo increased hair density and the proportion and size of hair follicles in the growth phase. The researchers found it was nearly as effective as the FDA-approved treatment minoxidil. Let me explain why this works. Ketoconazole reduces scalp inflammation by killing the Malassezia fungus and also has anti-androgenic properties, meaning it may help block DHT at the scalp level. A 2002 French study compared ketoconazole shampoo to pyroxadolamine and zinc pyrithione. All three helped reduce hair shedding, but ketoconazole had the additional benefit of reducing inflammation markers. Here's the practical information you need. Ketoconazole is available over the counter in 1% strength under the brand name Nizoral in many countries. The 2% strength requires a prescription and is likely more effective for hair loss. For hair loss purposes, use ketoconazole shampoo 2 to 3 times per week. Leave it on your scalp for 3 to 5 minutes before rinsing to allow the active ingredient to absorb. It can be slightly drying, so use a gentle conditioner on the mid-lengths and ends of your hair afterward. Results typically become noticeable after 2 to 3 months of consistent use. This is particularly effective for people whose hair loss is accompanied by scalp irritation, flaking, or inflammation. But what comes next is even more powerful, and it's something that the mainstream hair care industry has completely overlooked. The number one hair loss shampoo ingredient that no one talks about is rosemary oil, I can already hear some of you thinking that sounds too simple, too natural, too good to be true. But let me share the research with you. In 2015, a randomized clinical trial compared rosemary oil directly to 2% minoxidil, which is the gold standard topical treatment for hair loss. 100 patients with androgenetic alopecia were divided into two groups. After 6 months, both groups showed significant increases in hair count. Let me say that again. Rosemary oil performed just as well as minoxidil for promoting hair growth. And here's the bonus. The rosemary group experienced significantly less scalp itching than the minoxidil group. Better compliance, fewer side effects, similar results. Let me explain why rosemary oil works. The primary active compound is rosmarinic acid, which has anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Rosemary oil improves blood circulation to the scalp, which delivers more nutrients and oxygen to your hair follicles. It may also have mild DHT blocking properties at the scalp level. Additionally, rosemary has antimicrobial effects that help maintain a healthy scalp environment. Here's how to identify rosemary in shampoos. Look for Rosmarinus officinalis leaf oil, rosemary leaf extract, or rosemary essential oil in the ingredient list. The position matters too. Ingredients are listed in order of concentration, so you want rosemary to appear in the first half of the list, not buried at the bottom. For maximum benefit, look for shampoos that combine rosemary with other proven ingredients like caffeine, saw palmetto, or ketoconazole. You can also add a few drops of pure rosemary essential oil to your existing shampoo, though I recommend diluting it properly to avoid irritation. Use your rosemary shampoo or treatment 3 to 4 times per week. Massage it into your scalp for at least 2 minutes before rinsing to stimulate blood flow and enhance absorption. Be patient. The 2015 study showed no significant changes at the 3-month mark, but significant results at 6 months. This is not an overnight fix, but it's a sustainable, side effect-free approach that the research supports. Who benefits most from rosemary? Anyone with early to moderate hair thinning, people who want a natural alternative to pharmaceutical treatments, those who have experienced side effects from minoxidil, and women with pattern hair loss who are limited in their pharmaceutical options. One more ingredient I want to mention that deserves honorable mention is peppermint oil. A 2014 study found that peppermint oil promoted hair growth more effectively than minoxidil in mice, with the peppermint group showing 92% hair growth compared to minoxidil's 55% at the 4-week mark. Now, this was an animal study, so we have to be careful about extrapolating to humans, but the mechanism makes sense. Peppermint oil is a vasodilator that increases blood flow, and that tingling sensation you feel is evidence that something is happening. Look for shampoos that combine peppermint with rosemary for a synergistic effect. Now, let me share some supporting advice that will amplify whatever shampoo you choose. First, how you wash your hair matters as much as what you wash it with. Massage your scalp for at least 3 to 4 minutes when you shampoo. This isn't just about distributing the product. It's about stimulating blood flow to your follicles. Research shows that scalp massage alone can increase hair thickness. Second, don't wash your hair every day if you're using medicated or treatment shampoos. 2 to 3 times per week is usually sufficient. Overwashing can strip your scalp of protective oils and disrupt its natural balance. Third, be realistic about timelines. Hair grows approximately half an inch per month. Any changes you make today won't be visible for months. The hair you're growing now is the result of what you were doing 3 to 4 months ago. Commit to at least 6 months before deciding whether a treatment is working. Fourth, if you're experiencing rapid or patchy hair loss, please see a dermatologist. Shampoos can help with androgenetic alopecia and general thinning, but sudden hair loss can be a sign of other conditions that require medical attention. Finally, consider combining approaches. Many dermatologists recommend using a ketoconazole shampoo 2 to 3 times per week and a rosemary-containing shampoo on the other days. The ingredients work through different mechanisms and can complement each other. I know this journey is frustrating. I know you've probably tried things that didn't work, spent money on products that overpromised and underdelivered, and maybe even felt embarrassed or self-conscious about what's happening. But here's what I want you to understand. Hair loss for most people is a gradual process that can be slowed and sometimes partially reversed with the right approach. It's not about finding a miracle cure. It's about creating a consistent routine using ingredients that have genuine scientific support. The shampoos sitting on most store shelves are designed to make your hair feel nice for a few hours. They're not designed to actually address the underlying causes of hair thinning. Now you know what to look for. Ketoconazole for inflammation and follicle health. Rosemary oil for circulation and gentle DHT blocking. Caffeine for extending the growth phase. Pyroxetone alamine for scalp microbiome balance. Saw palmetto for natural DHT reduction. These ingredients exist, they're available, and they can make a real difference. Your hair is a part of you, but it doesn't define you. That said, taking control of what you can control, making informed choices rather than falling for marketing hype, that's empowering. You have the information now. What you do with it is up to you. You've got this.